I've been thinking about Maine Road quite a lot while we've been in this period of inactivity as football supporters. I was listening to the Home CD that I produced during my time at the BBC. Almost brought me to tears thinking back to the great times I had putting that together and the great memories I have of Maine Road, from the first game against Schalke in 1970 to that last game against Southampton, when I had the great privilege of being the interviewee on the pitch, even though it rained, while the great legends marched around, but the parade of legends before the game. Great memories. Now, in this particular little tranche, if you like, of people talking about their memories, David White and Roger Reid, formerly of the Junior Blues, two of the people you'll hear from. Hope you enjoy it.
I've got to say, one of my favourite places in the world, without any doubt. Grew up as a young kid in Manchester in the late 60s, early 70s. My dad had some great memories shared with me about the 50s teams, and obviously I was born in 67, right in the middle of an amazing era for City and City fans. So real memories of the ground even before I got to see it. And then I think 75, 76, around that time, pretty sure my first game was Sheffield United in an Anglo-Scottish, something like that game. Absolutely magical place, and got my first season tickets. Ended up at Wembley, amazing. And one of the great memories is we used to park up at St Crispin's car park, the church car park there, just 10-minute stroll down to the ground, and just every corner you turned, every street you turned into, every alleyway, more City fans, and the noise just getting higher and higher, louder and louder, and just incredible memories. And walking onto the big forecourt in front of the main stand, and to our seats, through the turnstiles, and I can always remember how even before games how close to each other people were, and the smells of the pies and the bovrils and the pints, and probably more than anything the smell of smoke back then, and cigarettes and cigars and pipes. I remember a lot of people still smoke pipes. Got to our seats, Block Hero F, right by the tunnel and the dugout, which is a great place to be, and just an absolutely incredible place. And already I knew that I wanted to one day play out there.
For me, Maine Road, when I was a kid growing up, Maine Road was my church, really. It was the place I used to go to regularly, not just for games as well. During school holidays I'd be there, waiting to catch a glimpse of the players as they came out of the players' access door at the side of the main entrance at Maine Road. And in fact, I remember sitting on the steps at the main entrance at Maine Road long before they got the gates there. I'd be sitting on the steps for many hours waiting to catch a glimpse of somebody that I might know. So yeah, it was my church growing up, and very grateful really to have had Maine Road in my life as well.
I used to get my my dinner or tea at the chippy on the corner of Claremont Road and Maine Road, and I had my chips and curry sauce. Maybe pop into the souvenir shop, which used to be like a converted little house where the groundsman used to be, and then go inside in the Kippax, standing with my father, watch the games from the Kippax.
I always remember being at the uni, and you'd look down, from the fourth floor as it was getting dark in the winter, and you could see the floodlights. You could see Old Trafford in the distance if they were playing, and usually mid-afternoon the lights would be on, and in those days you couldn't look on your phone to see if City were playing. You'd have a look in the newspaper, and the lads I shared a house with, a few of us were keen, so we used to get the bus back to Fallowfield, walk up, take in a hostelry or two, maybe rush home, now it's called the Curry Mile, and then go and watch the Blues. And what I always remember were the people walking up Platt Lane and then onto the back of the Kippax, pay at the gate, that incredible tunnel, just the place, that the light and the smell and all the alleyways, even before I'd seen any football, and then standing on the Kippax and all the characters they used to meet on there. There was always one bloke who used to sit quietly on his motorcycle helmet before the match, read half his programme, and then he'd go berserk for 45 minutes, screaming at everything the referee was doing, everything the opposition were doing, everything we were doing. And then at half time he used to sit back on his motorcycle helmet, speak to no one, and read the other half of his programme. And I just remember we used to look for him, try and find him so we could stand near him, because if the football wasn't great, he was entertaining.
So the first game was August 1975 against Norwich City, and we won 3-0 that day. We used to stand in the triangle between the main part of the Kippax and the North Stand, what later became the area where the Gene Kelly stand was. And so you climbed up to the top, the stairs to the top. And I remember looking across at Maine Road, which at that time I think the capacity was 52,500, and it just looked huge. And then the crowd started to filter in, and that was my first memory, the size of the ground, the size of the crowd. And from that day I was hooked. My life changed at that point. I was hooked on going to Maine Road and going to see City, and I soon became a season ticket holder after that.
My first ever game at Maine Road came by chance, really. I'd been called up to play as a schoolboy for the A team. We were due to play at Platt Lane. When we got there, I was so disappointed because the ground was frozen. We clearly weren't going to be able to play that game. And then I remember Tony Buck saying, "Everybody get back in your cars. We your parents. We're playing at Maine Road." The undersoil heating had been on at Maine Road, and we played UMIS. Number 7 played on the right. We won 4-0, and I managed to get a goal at the North Stand end. A very typical goal for the goals I scored later on in my career for the first team, and then made my full debut, my start against Leicester at home. Absolutely incredible experience. I think I played the first half on the right hand side in front of the main stand, and then got a brilliant ovation as I ran over to the Kippax to start the second half. Unfortunately, we lost the game 2-1, but dream come true, absolute dream come true. One of my best memories would be the 2-1 game against Liverpool, probably turn of the decade, I think early 90s, the first home game of the season, a night game. Best atmosphere I think I ever experienced at Maine Road. I managed to get 2 goals, one that came left footer that came down off the bar, probably didn't go in all honesty, but the linesman gave it. I don't think I'd get that one now with VAR. And a second goal, pretty again typical of a lot of the goals I managed to get at Maine Road, just down the right hand side and low and hard into the far corner. They tended to be at the North Stand end, but this one was at Platt Lane.
My first ever memory of Maine Road was as a youngster, as a schoolboy, sitting on the steps of Maine Road, and the then chief scout, a guy called Harry Godwin, saw me sitting on the steps, and he said to me, "How long you been sitting there, son?" I said, "A few hours, sir," because that was how it was in those days. Anyone older than you called them sir. And Harry said to me, "Have you ever seen behind the scenes in Maine Road?" And I said, "No, sir." And he said, come and have a look." And he took me up the stairs to the reception, down to the boardroom at one end, and then down to the manager's office at the other end, and then showed me out. And I'll never forget that. That was a very generous act from Harry. And interestingly enough for me, it was great to get the chance to work with him later on at Maine Road. He was a wonderful man, Harry Godwin, and I loved the times we had to work together as well, when we worked together with the Junior Blues Club, which was the huge success, the Junior Supporters Club of the late 70s, of course.
Watching City go up and down, Division 1, being relegated up and down, watching Stockport consistently beat us at Maine Road, and then Maine Road turning from what I would call an old-style brilliant ground with loads and loads of atmosphere into a patchwork quilt, as I used to call it, with Swells's disastrous attempt at rebuilding the Platt Lane and a cheap Kippax stand which didn't have corners, and the Gene Kelly stand, which, even though it was embarrassing, it was part of our, if you want to call it, culture and persona as going forward. But Maine Road holds a lot of memories. The atmosphere was far better at Maine Road than it is at the Etihad, but we had to move, and it was a good move to the Etihad, to be fair.
Boxing Day 1977, and it was a game against Newcastle United that we won 4-0. But of course, the reason why that was so memorable was because it was Colin Bell's comeback game from injury. Colin had been injured in November 1975, in a League Cup game against United, Martin Buchan, I think. and he spent the next 2 years trying to get over that injury, and he finally came back on Boxing Day 1977, Newcastle, and I think the crowd was about 46,000, 47,000, something like that, a big crowd anyway. And Colin Bell was sub that day, and I think it was probably the second half when he started to warm up, and the atmosphere was already good, but it went up a notch or two when he started to warm up. And eventually he came on, and the ovation that he got was absolutely unbelievable. Every single person stood up and applauded him, gave him a fantastic ovation. I don't know how Colin felt about it, but it just seemed to, it was just one of those moments. It was just a really, really, really special moment. And I remember he actually had a goal scoring opportunity with a header, and he just put it over the bar. That would have been a crowning moment of his comeback if he'd have scored that goal, but he didn't. But we went on to win 4-0 that game.
And of course, I did actually get to ask Colin Bell about how he felt that day against Newcastle when he got such a great reception for the book that I wrote with him called Reluctant Hero. That's the latest batch of Maine Road memories. If you want to share yours, then DM me, direct message me on Twitter, and I'll tell you how you can do that, or contact me on Messenger on Facebook. In the meantime, keep strong, keep safe, and we'll do another batch of Maine Road memories very soon. See you soon. Great being a Blue, isn't it? Big shout out to the 3 companies that have supported the products that I put out under the Forever Blue title throughout the year, the podcast and the vlogs. See you all soon.